So I'd like to make a short assessment of where we are regarding some of the foreign policy issues that the United States is dealing with, mostly in the MENA, Middle East and North Africa region. Definitely the most important matter Washington is addressing is the escalation with the Iran regime over our sanctions, over our designation of their revolutionary guard, and over the actions that the Iranian regime has been taking in Yemen, against Saudi Arabia, the UAE, but also specifically against our troops in Iraq and in Syria. With regard to Iran, the Trump administration, no doubt about it, is making sure that the regime is put under pressure for at least this purpose, that is to convince the Iranian regime not to expand further in the region, to withdraw their militias, and obviously to ensure that they don't have ICBMs, missiles that can reach US targets in the region and allies targets. The second point is really about what we're going to do in Syria and Iraq. In Syria, where it's very complex, we have the Assad regime, Iran and Hezbollah trying to expand their influence into the Syria Democratic Forces areas where we are present. These are our allies. But we also have another problem, which is the tension between the Turkish government and the SDF as well. It is my projection that we are going to be committed in Syria to help our allies, but trying to resolve the matter with Turkey, and to make sure that the Iran axis in Syria is not going to take over the entire country and then defeat our allies on the ground. With regard to Iraq, we are increasing our presence. First, it was to counter ISIS, which has been done, but now is to counter the Iranian-backed militias. It is clear that our position with regard to Yemen has to be further developed, because in Yemen, the Arab coalition, our allies, are facing off with an Iranian militia, the Houthis. And I know there is a debate in Washington about it, and there were even resolutions or attempts of resolutions from the Senate and maybe the House to counter the action of the Arab coalition. I think that is a wrong policy. I think there should be more briefings and more hearings about what's happening in Yemen. And my position that has been for many years now is that the main danger in Yemen, in addition to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, obviously, is the Iranian influence. They have been using ballistic missiles from Yemen. So in general terms, that part of the Middle East we have to address, and we will be addressing over the next months and years. There is also, of course, in North Africa, the issue in Libya. And again, with regard to Libya, we need to be very clear. We need to explain it to the American public in terms of national security. You have one part of Libya which is under two institutions, the Libya National Army and the elected Parliament of Libya, which is in Benghazi. On the other hand, you have a government which is in Tripoli, recognized by the United Nations, no doubt about it, but it is completely surrounded by either jihadi militias or Islamist militias, and in general terms, the Muslim Brotherhood militias. The idea that the US should pursue is that militias should be disarmed, terrorists should be defeated, and then there should be a unity conference whereby a process for elections and restabilization of Libya. That is the order. I don't think we should be involved in a conversation between jihadists and the rest of the country. We need to be engaging all political parties in the country, but strengthening the army, strengthening the parliament, reorganizing the government, and making sure that the militias are disarmed. In general terms, that's what we are facing here in Washington. Obviously, what we need in terms of being successful in the region is to have a unity here in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, over the past few months, we've seen that that unity has been eroding. I mean, of course, the president and the administration and many members of Congress want to see that strengthening of U.S. policy in the region. But we have seen also, we have heard voices that wants to bring back the Iran deal. That's a mistake. Voices that wants to re-engage the Muslim Brotherhood, and that's a mistake. So hopefully in the next weeks and months, we will see a better unity in Washington that would allow us to move forward on all these files, at least in 2020.